everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Alana, and today we're going to talk about the books that I read in 2019 that made me cry. So today I have 5 books to talk about, but just quickly, I know that all my 2019 wrap-up videos may be coming out a little bit late, but hey, I have 2 jobs and I'm busy, so that's that. I love watching people's wrap-up videos of the year and what they liked, what they didn't like, and all that sort of thing, so this is me adding to that conversation. Alright, so let's just jump straight in and start off with the Robin Hobb books. I have 2 of them that made me cry. I will be talking about the 3rd trilogy in the realm of the Elderling series. I won't be saying spoilers for any of these books, so there you go, but maybe crying is a spoiler. If you count that as a spoiler, sorry? But anyway, I have Fool's Errand, which is book 1 in the 3rd trilogy, and also Fool's Fate. So book 1, book 3, of the Tawny Man trilogy, which is the 3rd trilogy in the universe. You've heard me talk about Robin Hobb before. You know there's a lot of books in that series. Basically, with Robin Hobb, her characters and her plot are the things that make me cry in a good way. Robin Hobb builds up these situations by utilizing her plots and makes you care for these characters so much, and then she'll just do some real life shit to them, and man, you better have some tissues on hand because you're gonna cry. Something happens towards the end of this novel, and sad is not an emotive enough word to describe it. It hurt. It hurt so much. And then in this one, characters go through hardships. That's not really a spoiler. You know when you read a book that characters are gonna go through shit, but plot, characters, again, stuff happens in this one, and man, if you've read this series, I'm talking about the ice caves in this one. Basically, what happens to a certain character that we all love. I'm not going to tell you which one, but yep, there we go. So Robin Hobb took 2 spots on this list just because she's an amazing author and she knows how to punch me right in the heart. I can't wait to read more of hers. The next book I'm going to talk about is Sadie by Courtney Summers. Oh, Sadie. With this one, the thing that really got me was the subject matter and how compelling this story was. Unlike the last 2 books that I mentioned, I can actually tell you a bit about this book because it is a standalone, and in this one we follow a character called Sadie as she is trying to hunt down her sister's killer and basically her journey through all of that. You get part of the book through Sadie and through, like, I think it's first person, and then the other half of the book you get snippets from a podcast by West McCrae, who is one step sort of behind the events unfolding, and man, I loved how this book was told. I love that we get the dual perspective. I've heard that the audiobook for this is so amazing, and I'm very keen to do a reread via the audiobook just for that reason. And damn, if you haven't heard already, all the trigger warnings for this book. Sadie's trying to hunt down her sister's killer. It's a revenge story. There's hair in my mouth, and there's some brutal shit in this book. Like, it was a lot reading it, and I don't usually get affected by books that much. Basically, I'm not a reader that is usually triggered, but this book, it had me basically crying silent tears for this made-up character who felt very real, and I can't believe that her situation actually happens. I mean, you can believe it, but there is just so much to this book. It also makes me feel very privileged to have grown up in the family that I grew up in and just not having to go through some of the shit that's in this book. Man, was it eye-opening. So yeah, basically the thing that had me sobbing was the brutal subject matter. There are some not like graphic scenes, it's just more hinted towards, and whew, it's a lot, but very well written and a great book. Just a great book. The 4th book that I'm going to be talking about is Release by Patrick Ness. Now this was a reread for me. I read this in 2018 in the line to his author signing in Sydney. Patrick Ness is a beautiful human being, and this book just reflected that. In this book, we follow Adam Thorne, who is a young adult going through one day in his life. So yes, this book follows a single day in his life, but basically it's about him coming to terms with love, with his family, with his sexuality, and it was amazing. There is also like a B plot sort of throughout this, which goes a little bit magical realism and is a bit quirky. but I still enjoyed that element too. The reason why this one had me crying was the conversation in it on self-love and the love that you think you deserve. Oh man, there were rivers running down my face, let me tell you. It was just very relatable. Even if you have a lot of self-love and self-confidence, I still think that you will get something out of this book, and it just, fuck, you feel for Adam Thorne. He is a soft little cinnamon scroll, and you just want the best for him. You want the absolute best for him, but he's trying to work through his own thoughts and his own feelings and all of that, and read this book. There's a conversation that he has with another character. I think it's sort of early on, and it's everything. This book covers what a sort of semi-toxic relationship can do to your own mental image and self-love, and then also what a rewarding relationship can do for you. And it's about coming to terms with, do you deserve that? Can you give yourself wholly to a person? And it's probably my favorite book of Patrick Ness's after his Chaos Walking trilogy, which is a big call. And the last book that I have to talk about is one that I started off not really enjoying, and by the end of it just had me crying and dehydrated basically, because all the tears fell, and that is Bridge of Clay by Markus Zusak. Now, you may know Markus Zusak from The Book Thief and The Messenger. He is an amazing Australian author who took a bit of a break slash didn't publish something for a while, and then this was his anticipated return to publishing basically. This one follows the Dunbar boys after the death of their mother and the breakdown of their family structure, and basically 5 boys, I think, in a one household trying to get through life and raise each other. It follows predominantly Clay and his role in the family, and man, basically an Australiana story about family growing up in Sydney, I think. And yes, this book is hard to get into. I would say give it 100 pages at least, because it is all over the place. You really just get chucked into it. You don't really know what the fuck is happening for that first 100 pages or so. But my advice to you is, if you're picking this up, just let the storyline flow through you. Just stop trying to work out what's happening. Just read it, consume it, and then about this far through, it's gonna really start doing what it's meant to do. It's gonna get you, trust me. With this one, what got me was the emotive writing style. Markus Zusak is a very, very emotive author. He will get all the emotions out of you through his writing style. He is amazing. I want to read every book that he writes ever. And also, the other thing that got me is it's sort of a tragedy-based story. You find that out pretty early on, so it's not a spoiler or anything, but man, give me a story that involves a family that is working through stuff and a tragedy thrown in there, and you're gonna have me crying. I love stories that do surround families that aren't entirely perfect, and I love working through family histories and things like that, and I loved this. So give it a go if you want to try some like Australian contemporary fiction. I don't really know how to describe it. It's very Australiana, and it feels very sort of authentic for what it would be like growing up in Sydney in this time period. So yeah, this one got me because of the emotive writing style and the family drama aspect. And there's also a donkey that lives in a house, so if you don't want to pick it up for the other reasons, pick it up for that.
Hi there, Editing Alana here. I just realised that past Alana forgot to mention The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. How did I forget to include this while I was filming this video? Obviously, I just had a massive brain failure moment, but this book was also amazing and emotive and had me in tears on multiple occasions, and not just like the delicate little tears, it was like ugly crying hysterics. Basically, if you haven't heard of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, this book is about a woman called Evelyn Hugo who, of course, marries 7 different people, but it's about how those marriages affected her life, how she used them, or what they meant at each point in her life and her career. And then there's also that element of who she actually truly loved in the end. And it was amazing. I loved it so much. I also loved the B-strand narrative that was going on too, which included a woman called Monique who's been asked to interview Evelyn Hugo. And yeah, this book was amazing. You've probably already heard about it, but if you haven't, make sure to pick it up, because the writing style and the events that happen in this just will wreck you in a good way. I think. This book was incredible. That's all you need to know.
So those are the top 5 books of 2019 that had me crying like a little baby, and what a ride, let me tell you that. I love books that make me feel everything, and I think it is one of the best things that an author can to make you do, which is to actually physically express your emotions, like through tears or screaming or yelling or laughter or whatever. And yeah, I can't wait to find out what else makes me cry in 2020. I know it's a weird thing for a reader to say, like, I love books that make me cry, but they make me feel something so strongly, and usually they're in my top favorite books of the year if they can make me cry. If they can crack me like an egg, you've got me, author. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you like what I post. I'm gonna try really hard to promote myself a little bit more, but I still just feel weird doing it. But you know, subscribe if you like this. Today I want to know what book had you laughing or crying or yelling or screaming or whatever. Drop it in the comments down below. Let's talk about it. And that's all I've got for you today. So I will see you in my next video. Have a great day out there. Bye!